Part 61. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 601. Chapter 601. Fei Chen wants to elope with Lily I. 5. I will be with Lily I. They have already agreed and will not leave each other easily. Tang Wentao sneered, his anger still rising. I'm giving you an ultimatum now. You break up with Qilil immediately, right now, or you won't come to work in the company starting tomorrow. Our company doesn't need someone who doesn't listen to me, and you won't be able to inherit the company in the future. Tang Wentao threatened Qilil coldly. Qilil's face could no longer maintain its usual calmness and indifference, her mouth dropped, and she squinted at a small grass on the ground. Her heart ached, and there was a huge black hole in her heart that was constantly eating away at her self-esteem. Father Tang made things so difficult for Fei Chen in front of her. He didn't take her seriously at all, let alone respect her mood. He just deliberately threatened Fei Chen in front of her and humiliated her self-esteem. As for her, she just endured. Enough was enough, she was simply fed up. Who is not the son of a father, who insists on asking for trouble and being humiliated by him again and again? Qilili raised her head and chest, turned and left coldly, without looking back. Seeing Qilili leaving, Tang Wentao's eyes flashed with a smile, but his face became even more angry, pointing at Qilili. Look at your woman. She has no heart at all. She left on her own before even talking to her. If you still want to marry such a person as your wife, do you want to make your father angry to death? Seeing his girlfriend leave and facing his angry father, Tang Fei's heart sank to the bottom. He could think of Qilili's inner mood now. She couldn't bear it when faced with her father's continuous difficulties and insults. She'd endured it long enough and wouldn't have endured it even for a while if it hadn't been for him. Dad clearly knew this, so he only met once and gave Lily a bad look. He wanted to force Lily to leave him. Dad knew that he would not break up with Lily, so he did this. Dad, you are going too far. Tang Fei Chen turned around and ran quickly to Qilili, going to her side to comfort her. Tang's father saw that Tang Fei Chen actually left him and ran away, so he immediately raised his voice and shouted. If you dare to leave, don't come to work tomorrow. Tang Fei Chen heard his father's words, but he still didn't stop walking. Soon he ran to Qilili and hugged her from behind. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. 3 consecutive excuses could not fully express his inner guilt. He should not have allowed his beloved woman to face the difficulties made by his family but could not resolve them. He blames himself so much and feels guilty. Now he is only filled with guilt and deep love, but no amount of deep love or humiliation can erase the trauma in her heart. Kylie lowered her head and said nothing. Her eyes were slightly moist. She really had a desire to cry. She had never been so strong since she was a child. Every time she faced difficulties from Tang's father, she would have the idea of giving up. She doesn't know how long she can endure it, and she doesn't know which day she will break out. She felt that during this period, she had exhausted all her patience. She had never been so patient in her life. When Tang's father made things difficult for her, she wanted to turn around, rush up and kick him away, then point at his nose and curse, and then leave calmly. Fei Chen, I'm really in pain, Qilil said sadly, revealing her inner feelings so frankly for the first time. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 602. Chapter 602. Fei Chen wants to elope with Lily 6. Although Qilili rarely expressed her feelings to Tang Fei Chen could guess it from her reaction. He has been carefully taking care of her mood, telling her with his love again and again not to give up easily. This was the first time that she heard her say sad words in such a sad voice. Was she scared? Backed off? Want to leave him? I will never give up on you in this life. I'm sorry for you and I won't let you be wronged anymore. Just now my dad said that I don't have to go to the company to work tomorrow, so I won't go in the future. As long as I can be with you together, I don't care about anything. Chi Lili raised her head, withdrew from his embrace, turned around and looked at his serious face. Are you serious? Do you really no longer want the Tang dynasty group? Tang Fei nodded heavily. It doesn't just belong to me. Now I'm just maintaining the company's performance in the company. It's difficult for Tang dynasty group to climb up. In fact, I have long wanted to go out and try to see if I can strengthen myself and make a career on my own. Cause. Start your own business, Chi Lili's eyes flashed, but she was still very excited. But thinking about it, he had expressed to her countless times how happy he was that his annual income had hit a new high, or that he had easily resolved the crisis of the Tang dynasty group. He was obviously very satisfied with his work and loved it, but now he told her that he didn't cherish it that much. He simply lied and did not want to leave the company. Lili, in fact, no matter how big the company is, the sense of accomplishment is not strong. I want to use my ability to make a breakthrough and see where I can go. Maybe it will be bigger than the current Tang dynasty group. Look at my big brother. I founded the Emgrand group and it is now the 7th largest group in the world. Even if it reaches the level of a big brother, it will not be much worse than the Tang dynasty group. Tang Feishan said his thoughts. He had already made up his mind to leave the Tang dynasty group. Although this idea should have just appeared in his mind, the more he thought about it, the more suitable it became. But starting a business is hard. Compared to leaving you, the pain of starting a new business is nothing. Don't forget that I still have a great supporter, my elder brother Tang Feishan said with a smile, soothing Chi Lili's uneasiness. Tang Feishan was right. With Tang Yuge here, he didn't have to worry at all. Without Tang Yuge, he would definitely have encountered many obstacles in starting a business, especially from Tang's father. In order to force his son to come back, he would definitely suppress his son in the mall and let him come back in despair after failure. But with Tang Yuge here, Tang Feishan doesn't have to be afraid at all. I believe Tang Yuge will not ignore him. Even if he no longer wants to start a business, Tang Yuge welcomes his younger brother to work in his company or become a major shareholder. They don't have to worry about their future life at all. Chi Lili shook her head. If you didn't work in your dad's company, I would be even more hated by him. Maybe he called her a vixen behind his back and blew his son away. Then are you willing for me to leave you? Even if you are willing, I can't bear for you to be wronged again. If he continues to make things difficult for you, I will take you to other countries. Starting a business does not have to be in China. After leaving a foreign country, we just live whatever you want. He really couldn't bear to let her be wronged again. Tang Feichen's actions moved Chi Lil very much, and 2 lines of tears flowed down her face. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 603. Chapter 603 Paternity Test Results 1. Tang Feichen's actions moved Chi Lil very much, and 2 lines of tears flowed down her face. Do I deserve you to do this to me? Does it worth? He needed to sacrifice so much. This is elopement, leaving behind a huge multinational company for one woman just to be with her. Suddenly I felt that being humiliated was nothing compared to his efforts. It's worth it, it's worth it. A happy smile appeared on Tang Feichen's lips, and he kissed the tears away from her face, and finally kissed the slightly trembling cherry mouth. Nothing can compare to the little woman in his arms. As long as we can always be together, this sacrifice is nothing. Chi Lili also hugged her excitedly and let her sink for the time being. Let's think about what she will face in the future. If they really go to another country in the future, the Tang family may explode, and they will be shocked by their madness. Originally, Father Tang only used this method to force Tang Feishan to abandon Qi Lili. Unexpectedly, Xiao Feishan, his son with a gentle personality and a good boy since he was a child, would make strong moves for a woman, which would frighten many people. After Tang's father saw Tang Feishan leaving, he sat down on the ground and was helped up by the caddy on the side. "Mr. Tang, are you okay?" Tang Wentao shook his head. His high blood pressure suddenly soared. He had been stimulated too much recently. A healthy heart would be out of control by these juniors. What happened to the Tang family this year? The eldest son married the daughter of his beloved, the second son even gave up his company for a woman, and the third son made someone else pregnant when he was 16. The Tang family has been really troubled this year. What exactly caused it? 2 days passed very quickly. The personal identification of the investigation was sent directly to Qi's home by express delivery. Qi's father immediately notified his daughter to come over after receiving it. Qi and Yuman rushed home immediately. Dad Qi's expression was a little uneasy. The information was placed on the coffee table, but he did not open it first. Qi and Yuman looked at the information and did not take it over to read it first. She also did not dare to open it for fear that she would not be able to accept the truth after reading the information. "Dad, you'd better open it and take a look." "Look," Qi Zhan refused. If he dared to do an appraisal, he would have done it a few years ago. He just didn't want to know the truth and would rather ignore it than get it. Qian Yuman held the information in her hand, opened it and put it back on the table, covering her chest with one hand. "I don't dare." She was worried that the results of the information would be bad and it would be bad news. Qi Zhan and his daughter just looked at each other and waited for more than 10 minutes to read the information, but no one took the initiative to open it. At this time, Qi Lil came back. When she walked into the house, she noticed that something was wrong with her sister and her father. The atmosphere was a bit depressing. They looked at each other and did not notice that she had returned home. "What happened?" Qi Lil asked, looking back and forth at them. Suddenly hearing someone speaking, Qian Yuman was startled and jumped up from the sofa, covering her belly with one hand. "My baby was scared to death. Why didn't you make any sound when you came back?" "There was a sound and the movement was not small. You didn't know what you were thinking and didn't notice it," Qi Lili said indifferently. Her eyes swept over her father and sister, and her eyes fell on the express delivery in front of them. "What happened to you guys?" Qi Lili didn't know about Jian Yuman's investigation. The father and daughter deliberately concealed it and didn't tell her. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 604. Chapter 604 Paternity Test Results 2. Qi Lili didn't know about Jian Yuman's investigation. The father and daughter deliberately concealed it and didn't tell her. If the information is bad news, it means that Qi Lili and Tang Feishan are also siblings, and both sisters will be in tragedy. Assuming that they are really not Father Qi's children, what they are about to face will be a disaster and unforeseen for them. Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj are brother and sister, isn't the child in her belly. Qi Lili and Tang Feishan worked hard to maintain their relationship and resisted the opposition to them, but they were told that they were brothers and sisters, so what reason was there for them to continue dating? Not to mention being blocked by others, even they themselves couldn't pass the test. So, before the answer came out, Qian Yuman didn't want to worry her sister. It was enough for her to worry alone. The answer came out and was on the table. Neither she nor her father dared to reveal it, and they were in a stalemate for a while. "What happened to you?" Qi Lil asked again. She was sure that something was wrong with her sister and her father. His eyes fell on the information on the table. He stretched out his hand to hold the information in his hands. He found that his sister and father's eyes were almost staring out of their eyes, and they couldn't help but stand up. Sure enough, Something happened, and it was in her hands. Chi Lilia looked directly at her father, holding up the information in her hand without saying anything, waiting for them to take the initiative to tell her. Qian Yuman slightly twitched the corners of her mouth and bit her red lips. Sister, there is one thing we are hiding from you, that is. Qian Yuman slowly told what she had learned in the past few days, as well as some of the actions she had taken, and what the information in her hand was. Kylie I listened to her sister calmly, with no expression on her face. When she heard her sister and the others' worries, she suddenly raised the corners of her lips and smiled. Why are you laughing? Qian Yuman was extremely nervous, but her sister was still in the mood to laugh. Chi Lili raised the information in her hand and spoke directly from it without saying a word. She took the information out of the portfolio and quickly glanced at the paternity test report. Yeah, Qian Yuman shouted excitedly. As expected of a younger sister, she could easily do even things she didn't dare to do. Sister is simply her idol. She and her father had been mentally preparing for a long time just now. Qian Yuman and Chi's father were so nervous that they forgot to breathe. They stared closely at Chi Lili's face and saw clues on her face. Chi Lili put down the information, shrugged and spoke. You are too nervous and don't think carefully. He pointed at the information. The answer is the three of us are a family. Why? Really? Qian Yuman picked up the information excitedly and browsed it quickly. The information shows that she and Tang Yuj are not relatives, and she has no blood relationship with Tang Wentao. However, the paternity test with her father is indeed 99.99% consistent, indicating that they are biological father and daughter, and no drama has happened to them. I'm so happy. Qian Yuman jumped up and pushed the information into her father's hand with a smile on her face. She hugged her sister excitedly and jumped happily. She is so happy that Tang Yuj is not a brother and sister. They can continue to be husband and wife. I have been very nervous these past few days, but fortunately the outcome is good. They are still a family. Chi Lili watched her sister's excitement calmly and slowly explained her speculation. Actually, I know we are a family even without a paternity test. Why are you so determined? Qian Yuman didn't understand. She had been worried and scared for a long time. Where did her sister get her confidence? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 605. Chapter 605 Paternity Test Results 3. Chi Lili shrugged and patted her sister on the shoulder. You are too concerned about it, so you don't think about it? Since you said that Uncle Tang knows that our mother is Qian Xian'er, and they have really dated, plus the date of our delivery, if we are his daughters, he will find out with a little calculation. He must have known it before we did. Although Uncle Tang has always disagreed with me and Feishan being together, it doesn't mean he objects because he suspects that we are brothers and sisters. If he investigates that we are his daughters, he will not only be right about my relationship with Feishan, but also his sister and brother-in-law will be against it. There is no need for us to investigate the fact that we are his daughter. Father Tang will take the initiative to reveal the truth. As for the child in his sister's belly, it is easy for a brother-sister union to give birth to a deformed child. For this reason alone, he had to tell the truth. So, there is no way we are Uncle Tang's daughters. Chi Lili summarized what she knew. During this period, Qian Yuman and Tang's father didn't get along very well, and they were not made things difficult in many ways, so she still didn't know enough about Tang's father. During this time, Chi Lili, every time she collided with Tang's father, they would have violent contact. If she were his daughter, he would not be able to humiliate her in every way. After all, she was still a daughter. From Tang Wentao's attitude, we can actually guess that he cannot be the biological father of Qian Yuman and Chi Lili. Jian's appraisal report also clearly stated that Chi's father's suspicion for many years was an illusion, and Qian Yuman's worries during this period were in vain. Huh, that's fine. Qian felt relaxed all over. She had been under a lot of mental pressure these days. Fortunately, the result is not so bloody. Okay, okay. Qian couldn't describe her mood at the moment. Anyway, she just wanted to scream with excitement and excitement. Qian ran to the sofa with a smile, shook the pillow in her hand, and cheered happily. A pregnant woman who was 3 months pregnant was jumping around excitedly, her hair as messy as a little lion. Looking at Qian excitement, Dad Chi's eyes were moist and he was smiling, very happy. The results were freshly baked. Qian happily had a sumptuous lunch with her family and happily packed a meal back to her and Mr. Tang's home. Tangyuj, who was temporarily abandoned, is at home. Qian now just wants to meet him quickly, hold him and share her joy. When Qian went back, he also brought a bunch of fruits back, so he had to celebrate it. Tangyuj was taking a nap when he vaguely smelled a foul smell. He sadly lifted the quilt to cover his head. However, the stench was getting stronger and stronger, as if it was getting closer to him. Start air freshening. Tangyuj ordered the system painfully. The air freshening program has been started, the system robot answered, but the stench in the air still did not disappear. Tangyuj lifted the quilt, sat on the bed, stared ahead, and looked at the open door, where the smell came from. Seriously suspect that the toilet bowl has overturned. Otherwise, why would it stink so much? Can't get rid of the smell. When Tangyuj went out, he saw a hungry wolf squatting on a chair with his legs spread apart, holding something yellow with both hands. From time to time, he stuffed unknown yellow objects into his mouth, and there was something unclear at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the remnants of food and showed an expression of enjoyment from time to time, eating with relish. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 606. Chapter 606 Paternity Test Results 4. When Tangyuj went out, he saw a hungry wolf squatting on a chair, grabbing yellow things with both hands. From time to time, he stuffed the bright yellow unknown objects in his hands into his mouth, and there were residues of unknown objects in the corners of his mouth. Showing expressions of enjoyment from time to time and eating with gusto. The scene was like eating feces secretly, and the stench came from her hands. Tangyuj's mouth twitched violently, looking at Qian actions in disbelief. What on earth is this woman doing? What are you doing? Tangyuj covered his mouth in discomfort, unwilling to get close to Qian. When Qian heard someone calling her, she immediately raised her head and saw that Tangyuj was awake, and smiled brightly. Eat durian. Qian held up the Muzang King in her hand. She had just bought it at the market. It was indeed the Muzang King. It was so delicious that she wanted to eat it off her tongue. Tangyuj frowned in disgust and took a step back. There were 4 or 5 durians placed on the dining table. One of them had already been peeled off by Qian and placed on a plate. She had just started to eat it. Seeing Tangyuj's uncomfortable look, Qian immediately understood that he didn't like the smell of durian and had never even eaten it. A mischievous smile flashed in his eyes, and he continued to eat the durian in his hand while making weird noises. Well, it's delicious. Tangyuj pointed at the durian with a look of disgust on his face. It stinks so much, throw the durian out quickly. And can she eat durian in a normal posture? While others were sitting down to eat, she actually squatted on a chair, just like a northeastern man eating watermelon, and his rough nature was completely exposed. Coupled with the smell of durian, she felt like she was eating feces, which made him feel sick to his stomach. Oh my God! Let him die. How could he let him kiss her with that small mouth in the future? Why? It's delicious. Do you want one? Qian Yuman got down from the chair, held up the half-eaten durian in her hand, and asked Tang Yuj. Tang Yuj shook his head quickly and ran away. Honey, just let me go. If you think it tastes good, just eat more, and I won't. It's so disgusting. Qian Yuman didn't want to let him go and chased after him, eating durian while chasing. It's delicious, so delicious. Mr. Tang, it's really delicious. Do you want to take a bite? Trust me, you will fall in love with it after one bite. Just give it a try. Qian Yuman trotted after Tang Yuj. Tang Yuj ran faster as if he saw a ferocious beast chasing him. Oh my God! Honey, please let me go, Tang Yuj begged for mercy. Ouch! Qian Yuman suddenly shouted, squatting down with a somewhat painful expression, and still stuffing the unfinished durian in her right hand into her mouth. Cannot be wasted. What's wrong? Hearing Qian Yuman's cry, Tang Yuj immediately turned around and ran to her side. Qian Yuman raised her head pitifully, opened her arms and put her arms around Tang Yuj's neck, ate 2 pieces of durian with her small mouth, and quickly attacked his mouth, then went straight in and put a small piece of durian in her mouth into his mouth. The rich durian flavor instantly filled Tang Yuj's mouth, and Tang Yuj's expression became distorted. Qian Yuman's hand holding the durian was right next to his head, and the stench became even stronger, almost making him faint. Qian Yuman was naughty and refused to retreat, and kept pestering him. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 607. Chapter 607 The Mistress in Tang Wentao's Marriage 1. Tang Yuj tried several times to push her tongue out, but she nimbly dodged it and playfully sucked his tongue into her mouth. Tang Yuj collapsed even more. The aroma in her mouth combined with the stronger durian taste in her mouth gave him an experience he had never had before. He wanted to leave again, but she sucked him hard again, giving him a stimulating touch. It wasn't that durian was too unpleasant and the taste was strange, he definitely didn't hesitate to deepen the kiss. Qian Yuman was having a great time, but Tang Yuj didn't look like he was enjoying it at all, because there was a strange taste of durian in his mouth, and there was a stench of durian around him. The annoying little goblin in front of him was having so much fun that he didn't want to let him go easily. Oh my God! Someone come and save him! After the kiss ended, Tang Yuj's expression was both enjoyment and pain, which was very exciting. Qian Yuman burst out laughing when she saw his expression. She shrugged and buried her head in his shoulder and continued to enjoy herself. Is it funny? Yes, I finally found out what Mr. Tang doesn't like, it's durian. Isn't this discovery enough to make her happy and excited? Honey, I tell you solemnly, please let me go. The taste is really unpleasant. Although your kissing skills have been maximized at this moment, and it hurts and makes you happy, but next time you can do it under normal circumstances. Are you teasing me like this? Normally if she took such initiative, he would carry her to the big bed and continue the next thing. However, the stench in the room was still lingering. No matter how much desire he had, he wanted to disappear without a trace after taking a deep breath, which really affected the atmosphere too much. Qian Yuman grinned, her eyes shaped like crescent moons, and she was overjoyed. It's obviously delicious and tastes really good, how can you say it's ugly and smelly? Wife, just enjoy it. Don't eat it in front of me. It's best to eat it in the basement, that way he won't smell the smell. The corners of Qian Yuman's eyes twitched rapidly. Go to the corner to eat? Eat secretly. Thinking about that scene, she was drunk. She ate a durian and ran to the basement to eat it like it was secretly eaten. She refused. Qian Yuman's eyes flashed mischievously, but her mouth made an unhappy expression, pouting like a duck's mouth. Husband, you really dislike me. I won't be happy if you dislike me. Besides, I bought so many durians just to share them with you. I want to make a bunch of durian snacks later. You can make me a good intentions wasted. Wife, just enjoy the good things by yourself, and your husband won't compete with you eating durian. Forget it. Now that he was not hugged tightly by her, he wished he could turn around and rush to the toilet to brush his teeth. The taste is really weird, and coupled with the smell wafting in your breath, it's really intoxicating. Tianyuman shook his head quickly and said seriously, "Husband, don't you know that pregnant women can't eat too much durian? You must help me solve it together. For example, there is more than half of it on the table now. I definitely can't eat it all. It's a waste and a pity. Just help me eliminate it. If you don't help me, what if I eat too much and it affects the baby?" Tianyuman made the matter extremely serious, just to force Tanyuj to eat durian. Tanyuj is so awesome that he wants to throw all the durians away now. "Honey, for the sake of your health, I'm going to throw away all the durians." Tanyuj pushed Tianyuman away and ran towards the durians quickly. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 608. Chapter 608. The mistress in Tang Wentao's marriage too. "No," Tianyuman screamed. "The Muzang King she bought in this batch was so delicious that she couldn't bear to part with it." "Honey, be obedient." Tanyuj ran much faster, and he just got close to the durian. He showed an intoxicating posture, trembling all over and rolling his eyes. He can't tolerate this taste and refuses even if it comes close to it. Tianyuman took the opportunity to rush over and put out his hand to block the durian. "The first one will cost your life. If you want to touch my durian, you must step on my body." Tianyuman opened his hands wide, looking like a strong man going to his death. Standing in front of durian forcefully, he tried to stop Tanyuj from doing bad things to durian and the others. Wife Tanyuj looked like he was about to cry. He really couldn't stand the smell, so just let him go. Tianyuman refused to back down, and Tanyuj had no choice but to run away crying. Tianyuman saw the desolate look on his face as he fled, and she almost couldn't stand up with laughter. It was so cute. She hadn't eaten enough durian yet, so she turned around and ate another segment. She didn't dare to eat too much, so she sealed the rest and put it in the refrigerator for later use. The other durians were not processed, so they were placed in the living room for worship. "It's so fragrant, the smell of durian floating in the air is so sweet that I feel happy even if I don't eat it." When Tanyuj appeared in front of Tianyuman again, she almost couldn't stand still. It was so funny. At this moment, Tanyuj was wearing home clothes, but his face could not be seen clearly because he wore a gas mask specially designed for firefighters, covering his mouth and nose in order not to smell the durian. "Sugar baby, what are you doing?" Tianyuman said with a smile. "This is so funny. The gas masks are all out. Is it that exaggerated? Is it necessary to use a gas mask? It's obviously very fragrant." Tanyuj nodded quickly, pointed to the durian on the table, and nodded solemnly. Since the durian existed, he would not take off the mask. Tanyuj's exaggerated behavior made Tianyuman even more happy. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not throw away the Maoshan King. So all day long, Tianyuman watched Tanyuj wearing a gas mask and walking around in front of her. He is not uncomfortable at all, and does things contentedly, like a nobleman, reading, playing computer games, playing billiards, exercising, etc., as if there is no gas mask on his face. It's just very strange in Tianyuman's eyes. Can he stop being so funny? Throughout the whole day, Tanyuj didn't even want to take off his gas mask to eat. He just stared at Tianyuman happily eating dinner, but he could only watch. He had no intention of putting down his mask now, not even when he was hungry. Tianyuman ignored him and ate her dinner happily. Tanyuj was responsible for all the laughter today. After eating, Tianyuman went back to her room to wash up and get ready for bed early. When she came out of the bath, The fragrance of durian was missing from the air. Strange, where's the smell? There was already a faint smell of orange floating in the air, and there was also a hint of durian. In less than an hour, the smell of the room had changed dramatically. At this moment, Tanyuj appeared, the gas mask on his face had disappeared, and walked past her into the toilet. Qian Yuman thought of her remaining 4 Mao Shan King, and quickly ran to the table to check, and sure enough, they were gone. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 609. Chapter 609 The Mistress in Tang Wentao's Marriage 3. Tanyuj, Qian Yuman roared at Tanyuj, how could this be done, her baby? Qian Yuman yelled at Tanyuj angrily, questioning their whereabouts. Where's my baby? Tanyuj smiled brightly and pointed at himself shamelessly. Not right here. Qian Yuman rolled her eyes, feeling like she was communicating with a mentally retarded person at the moment. Woo woo, her durian, her Muzang King, woo woo. Qian Yuman's sad look made Tanyuj very jealous and complained dissatisfiedly. Sure enough, in your heart, durian is more important than me. Qian Yuman pouted and turned his head to ignore her angrily. She was originally going to buy durian to celebrate today, but she didn't expect that he threw it away, which made her unhappy. Okay. The durian is not lost. It is now in the underground parking garage. But I have a condition. Bring it up when you want to eat it. Say hello to me before bringing it up, then he can put the gas mask up in advance, no need to smell the stench. Qian Yuman looked at him with disgust and silently added in her heart that sooner or later you will fall in love with the taste of durian and know its deliciousness. It would be his loss not to eat durian, which is the king of fruits rich in nutrients. Qian Yuman temporarily agreed to Tanyuj's request and could only choose to compromise temporarily. The air is fresh, Tanyuj is also happy, and Qian Yuman has taken a shower again, and the smell of durian is no longer on his body, so he can sleep with his warm wife in his arms again. It was already dark. Tanyuj hugged Qian Yuman and turned off the lights to sleep. The two of them closed their eyes and rested. Qian Yuman closed her eyes and put her right hand on Tanyuj's abdomen, playing with the abdominal muscles around his waist playfully. A faint sense of happiness floats in my heart. The worries of the past few days have disappeared, so it feels very good to be with him. It is really happy to sleep with my arms around his waist. Fortunately, the plot didn't happen to her, but Tang's father and Qian's mother must have a story, otherwise Tang's father would not investigate, and he already knew that she and Lili were both Qian Xian'er's daughters. The daughter of his old lover must be a thorn in Tang Wentao's heart. No wonder the attitude towards them is always bad. Mr. Tang. Huh, Tanyuj, already sleepy, responded lightly. Why do you have a bad relationship with your father? Qian Yuman never knew this and never asked him. Incompatibility, Tanyuj said lightly, with no emotion in his voice. Is it just a personality incompatibility? Qian Yuman previously thought that there was a personality incompatibility between him and Tang's father. After all, he left the Tang family for 11 years and was in a rebellious phase when he came back. It was not surprising that there would be major friction between father and son. Not surprisingly. There are some other reasons, Tanyuj replied, feeling increasingly sleepy and still trying to hold on to chat with Qian Yuman. For other reasons, Qian Yuman opened her eyes and looked at what he was doing in the dim light. What reason? My mother. Mother Tang, Tanyuj's mother who has been dead for many years? Why, do they have any huge friction? Well, because there was a mistress in my father's marriage, my mother did not have a good confinement period after giving birth, which made her weak and eventually died young. Tanyuj's voice was still calm, without any waves, as if he was saying same as normal things. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 610. Chapter 610 The Mistress in Tang Wentao's Marriage 4. The Mistress in Marriage. Because of her mistress, her mother did not have a good confinement period. As a result, Tang's mother's health was not as good as before and she passed away early. Isn't it possible that the mistress he mentioned is her mother? Looking at Tang Wentao's feelings for his mother, and his father said that his mother had been hurt by a man, he was always thinking about his old lover. Could it be Tang Wentao? According to the time in the photo, it was when Tang's father was married, and the relationship between the two was very close at that time, so the mistress in Tang's father's marriage was most likely to be his mother. This Qian Yuman's mood is a bit complicated. Mr. Tang hated Father Tang because of his father's emotional affairs back then. If he knew that her mother was the one who hurt his mother's stomach, would he hate her? At that moment, Qian Yuman did not dare to tell him what happened during this period. She doesn't want to be disliked by him. She will continue to slowly learn about the past, and until she understands the past clearly, she decides to hide everything. Perhaps, my mother was not the one who indirectly caused Tang's mother to die young, but she was just overthinking it. After all, that was more than 20 years ago. Qian Yuman tried hard to comfort herself. She knew her mother very well. She was definitely not such a person. Maybe there were other possibilities in it back then. She should stop thinking wildly. She has plenty of time now to slowly investigate and understand what happened 20 years ago. Mr. Tang, the reason why you don't believe in love is because of your mother's unsatisfactory marriage, right? Because of Tang's father's mistress, Qian Yuman boldly hypothesized. She still feels that Tang Yuj doesn't believe in love, which makes her a little confused. Confused. Usually such people have been emotionally hurt or have some psychological shadow. Well, you can say it is. Tang Yuj's voice became softer and softer, almost turning into a whisper. His spirit became more and more relaxed, and he slowly fell asleep. Qian Yuman pouted, feeling a little depressed, because the relationship problems of his elders had changed his view of love. Why? Why is this like this? How much she hopes he can fall in love with her now. Mr. Tang, when will you fall in love with me? Open the knot in your heart, completely open your heart, and let her live in his heart. At this moment, Qian Yuman was like a courting child, longing for Tang Yuj's love and affection, but he doted on her but did not love her. His heart was always closed, unwilling to accept her love. Qian Yuman didn't wait for Tang Yuj's answer for a long time, and her mood was still a little low. She slowly raised her head and stretched out her hand to poke him. Mr. Tang, can you give me a deadline? Qian Yuman said pitifully. There was still no response. The only sound was his faint breathing. He had gradually fallen asleep. Disgusting. Qian Yuman pouted, a little unhappy. It seems that she is still unable to be completely open-minded. Although she enjoys a happy life with each other, she is still looking forward to him falling in love with her. Love without love will always feel like she is missing a sincerity. Mr. Tang, when will you fall in love with me? When you fall in love with me, we will be very happy and become the envy of many people. How I wish you could open your heart to me. Qian Yuman hugged Tang Yuj tightly, leaned her face into his arms, and smelled the unique manly smell on his body. I hope you won't keep me waiting too long. End of this chapter.